Episode 8, The Closing Image, An Imperfect Paradise.
Scene 1. Blooming among the ruins.
Morning arrived at Hart Square without ceremony. Light spilled in low and patient, touching stone, metal, leaf, and skin alike. Nothing had been magically restored, nothing had been erased. The marks of Arkhon's era still stood. The black pylons that once held the resonance fence remained upright, their surfaces still smooth, still precise, but now lines of laundry stretched between them. Shirts, blankets, mismatched socks fluttering gently in the breeze. Children had tied ribbons to the lower bars. Vines had begun their slow work, finding purchase along the flawless surfaces, insisting on curves where only straightness had been intended. The great clock still towered over the square, its hands were frozen at 8 o'clock, no one had reset it, birds had claimed it instead, hopping along the motionless arms, arguing, singing, shaking dust from gears that no longer ruled the day. Time was no longer announced, it was felt. In hunger, in light, in rest, people moved through the square without schedules. Someone swept one corner and left another untouched. Someone brewed tea over a salvaged heat coil wrapped in moss. Laughter rose, faded, rose again. What had once been instruments of control now served quietly, imperfectly, not beautiful in the way monuments are beautiful, but alive. The trauma had not vanished, it had changed function, it no longer commanded attention, it simply existed, woven into daily use, stripped of authority and given purpose. This was not paradise as promised by systems or saviors, this was something humbler, a place where life continued anyway.
Scene 2, The Symphony of the Ordinary.
The day did not begin with a signal, it began with overlap. Somewhere near the edge of Hart Square, the lame badger was already awake, rummaging through a pile of rescued cookware. Pots clanged. Not in rhythm, not with intent, but with purpose. Metal struck metal, paused, struck again, following the logic of hands rather than rules. A woodpecker answered from the old clock tower, not on the beat, never on the beat. Grumpy shuffled past, humming to himself. Off-key, stubbornly so. Changing melody halfway through as if remembering a better one and then forgetting it again. Someone laughed at nothing in particular, someone else coughed, then sang louder to cover the sound. Once, sounds here had been careful, measured, afraid of being wrong. Later, they had been synchronized. Steps aligned, voices timed, days divided into obedient segments, as if life itself were a mechanism that might fail if misused. Now, nothing matched, and somehow, everything fit. The noises braided together, clatter and hum, wingbeats and murmurs, the scrape of a chair against stone, the soft argument of birds over crumbs that did not belong to them. No single sound led, no single sound obeyed. It was not harmony in the polished sense, it was something better, a living cacophony, the kind that only forms when no one is conducting, when no one is waiting for permission to exist. This was the sound of a place no longer holding its breath, the sound of freedom. Not quiet, not perfect, but undeniably alive.
Scene 3. The messy table.
The morning settles on the terrace of the new home without ceremony. No banners, no speeches, just a table. It is cluttered in the honest way. Crumbs from toast, cups that do not match, yesterday's worries left nowhere in particular. Teddy sits sideways on his chair, a folded newspaper in his hands, or perhaps it was once a map. It has been refolded into something that almost flies. He pours juice. It spills. A small orange puddle spreads across the wood. Once, this would have stopped him cold. Once, he would have jumped up, apologized to the table, to the day, to himself. Now he simply shifts his elbow out of the way and keeps reading. Thinks he sits opposite him, dimmer than usual. The glow that once filled the room is only a soft outline this early in the day. She blinks slowly, chewing toast with the solemn concentration of someone not yet awake. She is not inspiring, she is not luminous, and that is allowed. Lucy sleeps in her chair, head resting against the table's edge, fingers still wrapped around her cup. Her breath rises and falls evenly. No one nudges her, no one whispers that she should wake up. Her rest is treated like something fragile and important. The forest presses in around them. Untamed, patient, vast. Vines crawl where walls once insisted on straight lines. Leaves move without consulting a schedule. The view pulls back, slowly. The three of them become smaller. A tired, imperfect cluster in a wide, breathing world. They did not live happily ever after, they lived instead. Sometimes afraid, more often brave, and always, finally, themselves. The last sounds linger gently, Lucy's quiet breathing, the soft rustle of paper in Teddy's hands, and then, without a lock, without a click, the story lets go.